Welcome to Five or Flop, a podcast for the best and worst historical fiction has to offer. I'm your host, Erin.
And I'm Grace, and each week we'll be reading a different historical fiction book to see if they're a five or a flop.
Our theme for season 2 is Booktok and Bestsellers, and this week we're reading Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I almost said Achilles heel.
Well, that doesn't exist in this book. We'll go into that later. But actually, the most exciting thing about this episode is that we have data scientist Ashley in the studio.
Hello.
Woo!
Welcome, Ashley. Well, we know you, we love you, but our audience only knows you for your amazing star calculator and intro and exit music. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, I am data scientist Ashley. I became a data scientist when this podcast came to be.
She also has a math degree, which is mostly the qualifications we need to consider someone to data scientist.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Excel intermediate skills.
She can put Excel on her resume and not lie about it.
I can. I use Excel all the time when I manage my local Ace Hardware.
Woo!
Plug. If you live in DC, the Ace Hardware on 14th Street.
Come check us out.
That's Ashley's stomping grounds. All right, Ashley, what's your favorite book? Doesn't have to be historical fiction. Bonus points if it is, or if you want to give us 2.
Ooh, okay. To Kill a Mockingbird has been my favorite book since 8th grade when we had to read it for school. I just recently reread it. Still 5 stars. It's the only book I've ever rated. It's the perfect book.
5 stars on Storygraph, and it's the only one.
Mm-hmm. All right, amazing.
Mm-hmm. And then as far as historical fiction, my favorite series that I'm still going to get you guys to read, at least the first book, is the Last Kingdom series.
Yes.
I have never heard of that.
Yeah, it follows this man named Uhtred, who is in the 800s England, and he lives through the whole series, covers his life going from when the Vikings first invade England to England becoming England and not just 4 separate countries.
Oh, that's a long book, isn't it?
It's 13 books.
So it's a long series.
The individual books, are they long or are they normal?
They're like 200 to 300 pages each. Each one individually is very, very easy to read.
We could read 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're fun, and the Netflix series is also really good.
We're looking for books for our long book season. So we are taking recommendations.
Yes, which we don't know if we're committed to doing yet. We have some ideas about what season 3 is going to be.
I think we have, I think for future seasons, we currently have 2 solid ideas. And then the rest are kind of, we'll see what happens.
We're spitballing a little bit.
But when we continue this podcast for like the next 50 years or so,
we'll run out of ideas.
Absolutely.
Ashley will be back again, don't worry.
Yeah, then season 65 will be Ashley picks all the books. And it'll just be that whole series.
All right, so what's new with y'all this week?
Nothing.
Nothing's going on, Grace?
You know, I go to work. I don't go to work.
She says go to work. She works from her bed.
Okay. No, I work from my desk in my room. You work from your bed.
I do work. Okay, now that I'm on more meetings, I don't work from my bed anymore.
You know, I read my book. I make my little dinner. I go to bed. It's a very quiet life. You know how that thing on TikTok where people are like mouse moment?
No.
Oh, it's just like, I don't know, when you have like bread and cheese for dinner and you sit by yourself and you eat it without watching TV and people are like, mouse moment.
Oh, you mean me most of the time. I love that.
Mouse
Specifically
girl.
when I spoke.
Anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay, I love that. Ashley, what about you?
And wow, there's no mention of our upcoming move?
Nothing big going on with Ashley in coordination?
We're kind of at a stasis moment for the move because like we're just reaching the point at which it's acceptable for us to order furniture or like to coordinate
neither of you
furniture.
wanted my fucking dresser that I need to get rid of.
It's giant.
It is.
And also it doesn't look very nice. I'm so sorry to say.
That's what I said. I listed it on the Facebook Buy Nothing group. It needs a coat of paint.
I don't want to paint anything.
Okay, well that's valid.
And also it doesn't fit in my room.
Yeah, it's also, I had a massive dresser, yet it is somehow too small for me and Santiago both, so we had to get 2 even bigger dressers.
Well, you know, big for one person is not big for 2 people.
Yes, exactly. He was also mad because I was starting to put the sheets in there, but I was putting them on his side of it, so it was taking up his drawer space, so.
Oh, well. Oh, and Ashley, while you're here, by the way, when I told you the other day that I was getting us bar stools, the girl lied about how tall they were, so I did not get us bar stools.
Damn.
Yeah, she didn't lie. She made a well-intentioned mistake. And it's sad for us both because now she doesn't have money and I don't have bar stools.
I have somebody in my contacts list that I met at Kat's birthday, and her last name is
my roommate.
Bar Stools. So I need to text this person because that was the context of our conversation.
Because her name is Bar Stools?
Her last name is Bar Stools. Like, that's why, because
Like
we
the
talked
sport?
about...
It's like when you put someone in, like, Grace Tinder.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's not her real
that's
last
not her
name.
real last name. It's just like we talked about bar stools, and she maybe has ones for us, but I completely forgot about that until the other day.
See, in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, is she heir to like the Barstool Sports fortune?
Anyways, great
Erin,
news
how are
today
you?
in DC because it's been the first week where we've had consistently over 70-degree days, and that's going to sound really funny when this episode premieres in like mid-May.
And we're all dying.
But the pollen count has been incredibly high, but as some of you listeners may know, I have been getting allergy shots for the past 5 weeks because I keep track of how many I get in my phone. And my eyes haven't been itchy or watering. I haven't been stuffed up and coughing. They are working. My life is renewed.
Hooray!
It's great.
Big fan. All right. I'm only reading pod books currently, so I'm not going to chat about them too much.
Do you want to do what we did towards the end of season 1 and give some hints as to what you're reading without giving it away?
Okay. Let's see. The author has 3 names. There is a circle on the cover, and one of the words is a color.
Can I give a hint too?
Sure.
From what I've heard, and I don't know because I have not seen the movie, but from what I've heard, the movie butchers the book.
So this is a book with a movie.
It's not Snowflower this time.
But a bad movie.
Yes.
All right. But what are you 2 reading?
I am still reading The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. I've been reading this book for like 2 months. It is the densest book I've ever read.
But you're close, right? Like you've made significant progress.
I am 55% through officially.
Oh.
Are you liking it?
I do.
assume you would have DNF'd it if you didn't.
Yeah, I am enjoying it. I am past the part where I'm just like, what? And now I'm actually like keeping track of who they're talking about, and I'm enjoying parts of it. And I know that by the end, we will get into like how the rings were made process, and that I will be more engaged with.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be me when I start my brother gave me a copy of Middlemarch for Christmas.
Oh, which has been on your TBR list for a while.
Well, I was going to say, because I have a copy of it, and it's one of those really pretty penguin ones.
Oh.
So I know that I'll like it when I read it, but it's like a candidate for the long book season. So I think I just need to start and like do what you did, like, and read like a little bit every day and like chip away at it. I'm not going to just like try and plow through it like I did with the Luminaries.
Well, not on the subject of thick, heavy books. I am venturing into Spotify audiobooks, mostly because I am on a very long wait list through Libby for this one. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. It's actually about a podcaster, which is great. I'm really into it so far. I like how it's broken up, like the chapters are like days and it kind of switches perspectives from the 2 women, but then sometimes it'll be like a clip from the podcast or like an interview, so you can tell it's headed the direction of true crime.
That's really good for an audiobook.
Yeah, it's another one. Like I told you when I read Daisy Jones and the Six, I'm glad I like happened to pick it up by audiobook and not book.
Yeah.
But I am loving it. Yeah, it's really good so far. I don't know how far I'm in. I have 7 hours left, listening at 1.5 speed. Spotify, my usual listening speed for audiobooks is 1.75, and whenever I have that out loud playing in the apartment, Santiago thinks I'm crazy because he can't understand like a word of it. Because they do speak. You have to adjust to it.
Yeah.
But they only have 1.5 and 1.8, and I think 1.8 is just going to be too much.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So
I'm not an audiobook girl, but when I have listened to them, I normally put it at like 1.25. Like I just need it like a little faster.
That's what I did when I started out, because I do speak you're supposed to speak very slowly when you're reading for that type of thing, understandably, but you have to, it's like dipping your toes in the water when it's cold out, or the water's cold and it's hot out, and you're like, okay, one speed, 1.25, I can go a little
more. You inch up.
Yes. Anyways, let's get into this book. This has been a very popular book. This along with Circe, which we'll talk about in a bit too.
Yes. We did not read Circe for this week, but it's just relevant to the conversation, and all 3 of us have read it before.
Yeah, so we won't really be giving spoilers for that one, but it'll probably come up. But anyways, let's get into the synopsis.
Yes. So for Song of Achilles, the synopsis is: a tale of gods, kings, immortal fame, and the human heart, the Song of Achilles is a dazzling literary feat that brilliantly reimagines Homer's enduring masterwork, the Iliad. An action-packed adventure, an epic love story, a marvelously conceived and executed page-turner, Miller's monumental debut novel has already earned resounding acclaim from some of contemporary fiction's brightest lights. and fans of Mary Renault, Bernard Cornwell, Stephen Pressfield, and Colleen McCullough's Masters of Rome series will delight in this unforgettable journey back to ancient Greece in the Age of Heroes.
See, this is my kind of synopsis because it doesn't tell you anything about what.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, where did this come from? Should I look for another one to actually say it's about? Like, you don't even really need to read. It's about Achilles. Like,
yeah, if you go to the Storygraph one, it's a little bit more detailed, but like. Y'all can just be like me and not read synopsis before you read.
For real, that's the Erin experience here.
I do have the back of the book here.
Okay, this is reading off of the back of the book, and Ashley's edition has the sticker on the front that says winner of the Orange Prize for Fiction. So this is an edition from after it won that. Achilles, the best of all the Greeks, son of the cruel sea goddess Thetis and the legendary king Peleus, is strong, swift, and beautiful, irresistible to all who meet him. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's a question. Patroclus?
Patroclus.
I thought it was Patrocles.
Patroclus is how I said it in my head, but I've been told that's not correct.
I'm going based on a game that I played that Patroclus is in.
Patroclus.
It's called Hades. It's a good game for any of those gamers out there.
I think I've watched you play it.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun, and Patroclus and Achilles are in it, and they have their relationship in that, similarly portrayed how this is in the book.
Well, I'm going to go on record as saying I think it's a terrible name, but like that's not part of the synopsis.
Y'all will probably have to correct me 1,000 times, but it's okay.
Patroclus is an awkward young prince exiled from his homeland after an act of shocking violence. Brought together by chance, they forge an inseparable bond despite risking the gods' wrath. That's enough. And then they go to the Trojan War. And most of I'm not reading this whole thing, you've already heard another full synopsis. They go to the Trojan War, and they're in love. And that's the plot. There you go.
Okay.
We should put that on the front of a new edition. They go to the Trojan War and they're in
that's
love.
it.
Yeah, literally.
Well, it's exactly like how now like TikTok authors will sell their books by being like
I hate that.
enemies to lovers, he falls first, touch her and die. It's like Trojan War, gay.
Touch her and die and it's the golf book.
Or as our friend Conrad would say, man gay.
Male gay.
Male gay, excuse me.
I think for context there, they live in a house of primarily queer women.
Not to be confused with female gay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he is the one who originally got me to read this book. He handed me his edition, and he was like, this is male gay, but it's gay. So I think you'll like
You're like, better than nothing.
Fun fact about Conrad. Turns out he had read Hamnet and then waited till our episode was out for about 2 weeks to tell us he read Hamnet.
Yeah, he just kept that shit to himself, which I do not enjoy.
No.
Anyway, so real quick, before we go into Madeline Miller, let's talk about, I said we had all read Circe prior to this, and it was my first time reading Song of Achilles was for this episode, but I believe you both had read it before, correct?
Yeah, I read it, so I didn't really remember a lot of it. I read it back in that dark phase of my life when I didn't know either of you and was living in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I had read it before, and I was like very mid on it before. I will say my opinion went up a lot this time.
Okay. Ashley?
I read it probably 2 years ago. I also omitted a lot from my memory about this book, but revisiting it was really fun.
Okay.
And between those two reads, I read Circe.
There we go. So Madeline Miller, as I feel like a lot of you will know, these are her only 2 books thus far. Song of Achilles was her debut, and then Circe came after. She has a couple other short stories, including one called Galatea, which was sold like as an independent bind-up, like in bookstores and whatnot. She has both a BA and an MA in classics from Brown, which is not surprising. She came into this as a classicist rather than as like a creative writer, and has, meshed those two passions.
That comes across for me in a very positive way. I feel like there's a way it could, like, when you read a book by a doctor and it's like clearly they're like too heavy-handed with the medical stuff and like lay people conversation. Mm-hmm. It came across in a positive way.
This is very, I think this is, we'll get into that later, but that was one of my things that I noted was like, this is written for an audience of people that don't know anything coming in. Mm-hmm. Definitely. She was inspired to write the Song of Achilles when she was directing a production of Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida, which I found very fascinating. Mm-hmm. I believe Troilus makes an extremely brief appearance in Song of Achilles, like not as a character that talks, but I think she says like he's there or something like that.
Oh, I wouldn't remember that.
I don't know. Anyway, Circe was theoretically supposed to get an HBO show. However, the link that she has on her website to the article. The article is from 2019, and I think shows like that don't survive, ordered series don't survive through COVID, the writer's strike, and then also HBO Max nuking its platform. So that maybe is happening somewhere else, but I don't think it's actively happening now. Okay, never mind.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that kind of thing will just depend on how much of her rights to the film adaptation did she sign away, and how passionate.
Are they going to come back to her? Are they going to stay with HBO and with her and die?
Yeah.
And then she's writing currently a book about Persephone. Unfortunately, it has been delayed. She came out in August 2023 saying that she was suffering from long COVID.
Oh.
So that was why she hadn't been writing. She just was not able to. I tried to look for updates after her first op-ed that she came out with, and I couldn't really find any. I didn't scour her Instagram or anything like that. But, I hope she's doing okay and that she can be, thriving in her life and then with her writing again soon. So, fingers crossed. And this is going to sound so stupid, but we're going to give a spoiler warning for the Iliad.
Yeah.
You had plenty of time to read it.
Yeah, if you're mad about spoilers in this one, you need to get a life.
Yes, unless you want to read, as we have affectionately nicknamed it, the Girliad, the translation of the Iliad that came out this year by Emily Wilson. I think it's the first major one translated by a woman, which is great. So we recommend that you spend money on that because it's pretty, and then you read it because it's nice.
I think she also has already done the Odyssey.
Yes, because I remember her translation of the Odyssey being a thing that I had heard about just because of the stuff that she chose to do with the language that was less violent or less sexist than what male classicists have done in the past. But yes, spoilers, and then we're judging this book based off of the book and not any mythical or historical figures they are based on, and we'll go into that a little bit later.
Yes.
Whether or not what this all is based on, and if any of it is based on real truth.
When Grace and I were talking, I called this a little bit of a stretch to put into historical fiction. Grace said it wasn't, so we went with that.
Well, honestly, when you look into
it's no more of a stretch than Mexican Gothic.
Yeah. Well, this is a word also that maybe you are not familiar with unless you have studied in college. The concept of historiography, which is kind of the study of history. It's how our perception of things have changed over time. Because if you sat yourself in a classroom in 1920 in America and learned about the Civil War, and then you did it in 2020, you would learn two radically different things. So it's the differences in our approach to history. And in this case, it means kind of our differences in how much of the Iliad we think is true. So that'll be interesting to talk about later. But until now, let's start with, I think we all liked this book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be, having the clash that Erin and I had last week about All the Light We Cannot See. We like this book, and we think that the writing is solid.
Yes. On the topic of writing itself, I still prefer Circe to this book, which was her second book. I think she had a lot of growth as a writer in between the two.
I would agree, yeah. When I read Circe, I was like, oh gosh, I couldn't imagine her writing having gotten better, but it does in Circe.
Yeah.
It definitely does. And honestly, I think that I hate that we're kicking off with Circe because we didn't read it for this, but I think she set herself up for a little bit more of a challenge with that one because it follows one central character, and in this one she has, I don't want to call it a crutch because that's not what I mean, but she has a little bit of a safety net in that she's writing somewhat of a love story. Yeah. And that's just that's a hook for people because people love a love story.
Oh yeah.
And in this case, I think it works very well.
I was surprised about how much of this book I did not remember. I didn't read it that long ago. But for some reason, I thought, and maybe this is just the case because in so many other books I read, it is like this. So I'm defaulting to expecting this from a lot of books. But the gay love was a lot less subtle in this than I thought it was.
It's not subtle at all.
No, it's not subtle. And I appreciated that, and I really liked that she didn't shy away from that. But I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end, especially not at the end and towards the end, when, spoilers, Patroclus dies, Achilles, completely loses it. Oh, yeah. And he's I'm gonna die soon, and then you can put our ashes in the same pot. He won't let Patroclus be burned and just, lives with his body. He, loses his goddamn mind.
So, should we get into how we get to that ending?
Yes.
And progress a bit more chronologically. Because I think
Yes.
this is one of the fewer books this season. It might be a bit easier to move chronologically.
Yes, so it starts with Patroclus, and I think it stays with him for a while. Like, you don't meet Achilles for a decent beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it starts with him being very young.
yes, which I don't think is a bad choice from a story perspective, but I know whenever I read a book and the main character is like a child at the beginning and they grow into an adult later, the beginning is almost always my least favorite part of the book.
That is what you've said multiple times. I think you said that with Fruit of the Drunken Tree and Violetta.
Well, it's different. Well, because Fruit of the Drunken Tree, they were children the whole time.
Yeah, but they got older.
I mean, moderately
Slightly
older. Yeah. In this case, it's the same thing. I'm just like, you have, I won't say less interiority, but less complex thoughts, and also just like less is happening to you.
Yeah, you're just not involved in as much.
Yeah, and also because Patroclus's like character arc, to the degree that it was there, involved him growing a bit of a spine, like toughening up for lack
Stop
of
being such a bitch.
Yes. It was, well, like, unfortunately, like, I felt really mean in the beginning, but it was like, God, stop being such a bitch. Like, he was just, like, not doing himself any favors.
Oh my god, this is just like in Desperate Housewife, where Lynette's husband Tom complains the entire fucking time. Non-stop. I hate Tom. Anyways, except the difference is, Patroclus eventually mans up. Tom doesn't.
Anyway,
so
Desperate Housewives reference counter for the episode 1.
So, Patroclus, he eventually gets disowned by his father because he just, like, kills a kid.
Yeah,
He just, like,
and that
pushes
was
him into a
crazy
rock.
to me. The description of that part,
Yeah.
this is very sudden. Because, like, it's basically just like a bully trying to take his toy.
And he just, like, shoved him down.
And then he lands on a rock and, like, his brain falls out.
So then he's sent to live with Achilles' father's land is kind of like I thought of it as like
The land of the orphans.
the land of misfit toys.
The
From
island of
Rudolph.
misfit
The
toys.
Island of
It's
Misfit
kind of like
Toys,
that, yeah.
Glee version. Remember when they sang that one on Glee? That was great. Anyways, it's kind of like that. He just takes in a bunch of orphan boys
Because they come with money.
because they come with money.
Well, I think he gets them for free, but he's building an army.
Yeah.
That's how he gets free labor out of them, basically.
Well, no,
Which
they come with,
indirectly-
like...
no, they come with gifts and stuff.
Oh,
too.
that is right,
Because
yeah.
that's how the lyre gets there.
That's right, yeah.
Patroclus brings with him this, like, beautiful lyre.
That was his
And
mother's.
Achilles plays it. And then that's how Patroclus is like, ooh.
Is that his dowry?
God, I mean, kind of.
So anyway, so then they're growing up a bit, blah blah blah, and then Achilles is, everyone knows he's going to be the greatest warrior in Greek, the best of the Greeks.
Yes.
And then they go to train.
Yes. That part felt not necessary to me. Ashley, I would love to know your thoughts on that.
As they're growing up in their training?
The part where they go to live with Chiron.
Oh, I think that was... I like that.
I wanted
section.
them just to stay there.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, I liked it because they were basically like living with a nice teacher and then, you know, quote unquote learning things. But like the things that they learned don't really come into play later. So I'm like, well, was the point of that book for them to have a place where they could like fall in love?
Yeah, I think that is the whole point.
Yeah.
I think the whole point is it's a place where homophobia does not exist. That space,
Yeah.
that crystal cave, that is their safe space. It's like the as you are of...
As you are being a queer bar here in DC.
Yeah, it's like the as you are of ancient Greece.
Please,
like,
Ashley,
the cave.
explain your cultural references.
Okay, maybe they should Google it.
But yes, and then basically after that, they're summoned back home to Achilles' father. They're going off to fight the Trojan War. There's this little bit of a contrivance where, as a child, Patroclus swore to protect Helen, and now she's been kidnapped by the Trojans.
Because he was one of the suitors.
Yes, which is...
At 8 years old,
which
right?
was- yes, and that was actually very funny to me, how he was like, my father made me go and be like a suitor for Helen, and I was like this 8-year-old boy, and then there's a bunch of grown men there.
But then he had gotten out of it because his father disowned him and he had swore the oath under his father's name.
Well, I was going to say, it was a little bit confusing to me because he swore the oath, but he only went to the Trojan War because of Achilles. Like, I don't think he would, I think he could have gotten out of it if he wanted to.
No one was going to come looking for him.
But then Achilles...
And also, he was not useful anyway. Well, for fighting, he was useful.
For a while, he wasn't useful at all.
Yeah.
But Achilles' mother had also tried to like hide him away by having him pretend to be a woman at the girls' version of the Island of Misfit Toys.
The two islands are segregated by gender.
And then he like got married? Question mark?
Yes.
And had a child?
Yeah.
That felt, I don't know. I'm sure that happened in the myth. Like,
Yeah, because why would she write that in?
Right.
But I thought it was weird.
I didn't specifically look that up, but I would assume that's why that's there, is that Achilles got married and had a child, and...
Yeah. But anyway, so eventually they go back, they fight the war.
Well, and this is like the really crucial thing, I think, to me, that like it hits at one of the themes.
Okay.
Which is they come to Achilles and they're like, here's this prophecy. You will either go to Troy and die there, but you will be remembered as the best of the Greeks. Or you cannot go and live a long and peaceful life, but no one will remember you. And he chooses to go and to die.
And this is where we learn that Achilles' fatal flaw is not, in fact, his heel. It is his pride.
Wow.
He has a big ego.
His only crime was to be an independent woman.
His only crime was to be an independent woman, literally.
Yes. So I'm not going to lie. I got to like, this is like a 400-page book-ish. It's like a pretty normal length book.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I got to over halfway through, and I was like, wait a minute. They haven't brought up his heel yet.
No, the whole time I'm like, where the fuck is his heel?
And then I was like, oh, they're just going to do it later. Like, no problem. And then you get to the part where Achilles dies, and it's like, he gets shot in the back, and I was like, oh, so I guess they're not going to bring it up later.
Well, maybe his heel is in the book the whole time.
It's just not special?
It's Patroclus. Patroclus is his Achilles heel.
Okay, but we don't mean symbolically. We mean literally.
No, we want his literal heel.
I know, but look, I'm trying to give you what I can.
Well, everyone has their own Achilles heel.
And Achilles is his pride.
Yeah. And it is interesting because, well, we can go into that a little bit later, but apparently when they say, like, obviously we do remember Achilles, like, as a figure for being this, like, amazing warrior, and we have turned it into, like, he was invulnerable, but actually in the Iliad, he was just, like, really good. So in the book, Madeline Miller was like, that's what I decided to do. I'm taking it from the Iliad. He's just, like, he's not invulnerable. Like, you could stab him and he'll die, but he's just so good at fighting that you just can't stab him.
Yeah. And then, so basically, he's told he's going to be killed by this one specific...
Hector.
It's like, after he kills Hector, he's going to die.
Yes. Or no, once Hector dies, he will die. Anyone can kill Hector.
Anyone can kill Hector.
But the assumption is that Hector's so good at fighting that only Achilles can kill him.
Yeah. So they can...
Which is what happens.
And there's some other side plots that we're, I'm sure, going to get into when we talk, but through the main thread here, he doesn't want to go fight because... Patroclus knows, like, Patroclus ends up going in his armor and pretends to be him to scare off the other army.
Yes.
And Hector kills Patroclus.
Yes.
Which
why...
you know,
you can't blame Hector for doing that.
No, that's his job.
I would do it too.
But that's why Achilles goes and kills Hector and then inevitably dies in battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's this thing of, like, they're willing to die for... Frankly, they're so, like, willing to die in this book that I'm like, maybe you just want to. Like, sorry. But, like, Achilles is willing to die for his legacy. Like, he's very protective and defensive of it because he says, like, it's what I have. It's all I have. Mm-hmm. And then also, both Achilles and Patroclus say, like, if you die, I'll kill myself.
Yeah.
Which is also what happens, basically.
Yeah. Which
I think is not something that we, as modern people... are like, that's not a healthy perspective to have. But I think, like, it's like a very, like, ancient Greek idea, I think. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the love part, but just, like, being willing to die for the loss of something.
Mm-hmm. I have a note that I'm asking myself what it means, because I know what it means in relation to this book.
Great.
So the note I have is, what's with everyone in the books we read having the most god-awful sons? And I know I'm talking about specifically Achilles having a terrible, awful son.
Yeah.
Hate him. What other books am I talking? It's got to be A Land Remembered, right?
Oh, A Land Remembered. Here, let me pull up my list.
Were there any?
This is not my list.
Because I made it, when I wrote it, I made it sound like we had a whole bunch. And I know it was A Land Remembered because fucking Soul and Zek McIvy.
Let's see. I would say A Land Remembered. I mean, Mexican Gothic, I guess, but that whole family was evil, so I don't know if you can really say that.
Chintu did have the incest twins.
Chintu had the incest twins. But honestly, the incest twins, like, their whole family was really terrible. The henna artist, she had that sister, but that was a girl.
Oh, that's true. Okay, well, I appreciate you clearing up my memory. But yeah, Achilles' son comes back at the end to, like, take over his father's legacy and throne and stuff. And he's like, now I'm the best of the Greeks, except he's awful. And he's the one who originally denies having their ashes buried together.
Yes. So actually, this is something that I thought, like, at first, like, I wrote in my notes, and I was like, oh, I don't like this perspective change. And then one bullet point later, I was like, oh, actually, it's really good. Patroclus dies, and he's been our narrator the whole time. And there's, you know, not a ton of book left, but there's a decent amount of book left. So I'm like, what are they going to do now? Are we just going to have this from Achilles' perspective? That would be so weird.
It was like in The Last Divergent, when What's-Her-Face died, and then it was all For's perspective.
Yeah.
Didn't like that. Except this book was good, because it wasn't that.
Well, it was Patroclus, because he was not properly put to rest, he's not been able to be released and go to the underworld, so he's still observing everything that's happening. And at first it seems because Achilles' terrible son comes back and they say we'd like to bury them together, he says no. So Achilles is put to rest, but Patroclus is not. So he's just left there in limbo. And this was the biggest emotional moment of the book for me. Like, I was panicking that they were just going to leave him there forever. But that's the very ending of the book, is him being put to rest, and they reunite in the underworld. And it's very poetic and beautiful.
It is. I did really. And it was actually Achilles' mother who reunites them.
Yes, which is nice.
Who was kind of like the antagonist of the whole book.
Exactly.
Yeah. She's homophobia personified.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to turn her son into a god, and she was basically like, this little weakling boy isn't good enough for you.
She's a twinkator.
I was like, she's not, you know, when you think about it from her perspective, she's not even wrong, really. She's just, you know, it's very sad that she doesn't understand love.
Yeah. And she also, like, specifically hated humans, too.
That's true. Well, also, like, it was almost kind of I would say, like, open secret that Achilles and Patroclus were lovers. Like, no one realized that he wasn't sleeping with women too. But I got the sense that the other men, and, like, the side characters are these, like, Odysseus and Agamemnon and, like, you know, names that you've heard. And I got the understanding that, like, they just, like, they knew what was going on, but just not to the extent that they were, like, exclusively together.
It was very much like a don't ask, don't tell kind of.
Oh, it was exactly. George Bush definitely read Song of Achilles.
Ashley, I have some questions for you based on what I see here in the note sheet. First off, freshly pressed oil is actually green?
Yeah. There's a description somewhere in the early parts of the book where Patroclus is describing Achilles' skin, and he's like, it was like freshly pressed olive oil, which freshly pressed is green, like a toxic green color.
Yeah, Grace just flashed me her laptop.
Yeah, it honestly kind of looks like anyone who as a child watched Teletubbies, it kind of looks like tubby custard.
Ugh, I love tubby custard.
It's not appealing as a skin color at all.
No, I think what she probably meant was like
brown.
Just, like a nice tan, like a rich, like olive oil that
skin.
you find in your kitchen.
Yeah. Okay,
Madeline.
Not toxic green.
Thank you for clearing the air on that. Madeline Miller, if you'd like to come on the pod and correct your error.
Or defend yourself.
You can email us at fiverfloppodcast@gmail.com.
Maybe she meant freshly bottled.
Maybe, but the bottles are green.
Did they have a bottling industry back then?
Yeah, I think.
Well, maybe not an industry, but like you could put stuff in bottles.
Well, I think the Greeks.
Bottles existed.
The Greeks, I think, were maybe the first people to bottle.
Oh.
Or some of the first.
Well, they had those beautiful
civilizations.
urns and those beautiful, you know, pottery. They loved to pot.
With their wine.
Okay, more substantially, Ashley, I see you do have some very good thoughts on here that we should get to. So pick one and go for it.
Okay, well, there's one that I actually lines up with a note of Grace's.
All right, let's go.
That you have in all caps. And this was how I felt this thought in all caps when I first read it.
This was honestly the only thing to me, maybe Ashley will explain it to me in a way that makes sense, that feels so bizarre to me, just in terms of plot and things happening.
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
So when Achilles' mother hides him on this island so that he won't have to go to the Trojan War and die there, he is, you know, kind of married, like, without his consent, really, to this princess that's there. And then later Patroclus comes to get him, and the princess realizes he's going to, like, abandon her, and he doesn't love her, and he's not going to stay with her or whatever. and she and Patroclus sleep together. And I don't understand why, because they don't like each other, and he is in a relationship with Achilles that is exclusive, and Achilles is a man. So I just, like, why would you do that? And later, when he thinks that Achilles is gonna, like, he's so betrayed by the idea of Achilles having sex with this woman. So why is it okay when you do it?
Yeah, so I talked to you about a scene prior to you reading it, and I was like, I don't know why she put this in here, and I need to look up. It reminded me of Heath Ledger's comments from his time doing Brokeback Mountain. There's some interviews that he did.
Which is a movie we should definitely watch.
It's a really good movie. It's one of my top ones. And he had these comments in a couple of interviews where he talks about his character doesn't have a identification sexually. He doesn't view that character as being, because that character does have sex with one man for like a long period of his life, but also has sex with women, like relationships with women. And so like by our today's standards, we would be like, oh, that man is bisexual. But he always said he does not put any kind of label on that character because of Ennis. And it's just, that story is about two souls in love, and they just happen to be in the bodies of men. It's a very powerful love story, similar to this, where it's like they are each other's world, and they live in a world where they can't express that. That's
a great comparison.
Yeah. I've thought about it a lot as to why she would include that.
Because if you take away the gender element, because that's the part that bothers me the least, frankly. I just, like, why does it happen at all? Like, he doesn't seem to want it, and it seems like he would think that it was a betrayal for Achilles to do it.
And it's very counterintuitive to, like, every other emotion he's expressed.
And I don't think Achilles ever knows.
No, Achilles never finds out.
I don't think he ever finds out. I don't have, like, a full answer as to why I think it happens or why it's included. We know her motivation is to, like, try to break them up, basically. Like, she's trying to...
Well, and I also read it as trying to get some, like, validation. For being, like, desirable and beautiful, because she has this, like, beautiful husband who, like, doesn't care about her at all and is going to leave her and never come back.
Yeah, so, like, her motivation for it is very clear to me. The whole thing reads as though Patroclus is just sorry for her.
And just being, like, a people pleaser almost.
Yeah, but, like, he's still aroused and, like, receives pleasure from this interaction. And so I don't know. I don't have a real answer as to why it's included, but I thought about it more as the book goes on. He has a relationship with Briseis.
Oh my God, is that how you say that?
I think so.
Let me Google that before.
Thank God you came on this episode.
I could be saying that wrong. That's how I said it in my head. But
Miss B?
I do not know how to say Achilles' wife's name at all. I just called her D.
Well, okay, stop. Hold on. I stop.
He does have a relationship with Briseis. Which is very romantic. I read it as very romantic because he has these dreams of, like, wow, I could marry her. I could see myself having children with her. But there's Achilles. But I love Achilles. Achilles is my world.
Here's what I think. I think that's a valid interpretation. My interpretation was, he was like, before that, he was like, oh, if I didn't have Achilles, I would be miserable and living a horrible life. Because before he met Achilles, his entire life was miserable and horrible. And to me, it's not that he was, like, romantically attracted to Briseis, but that it was like, if we got married and had children, because she asked him to have children with her kind of almost in, like, a sperm donor kind of way. Like a co-parenting setup, that he was like, oh, I would be happy if this was my alternate life. Like, I wouldn't be in love, but I would have a friend and children. I'd be happy.
And she was my favorite character, and you know what was the worst part? She was killed by Achilles' flop son.
That is terrible. This is not a book with a ton of girl bosses. Like, there are girl bosses, but they're peripheral. So I like to take the strong, smart women where we can get them. And not every book has to be woman-centric. I don't mean to imply that, but I appreciated Briseis.
My ultimate answer that, like, why that relationship and why he has sex with D, don't know how to say her name.
With Mrs. Achilles.
Is ultimately to show, by the end, Patroclus has more in his life than Achilles. but Achilles still means so much to him because, like, at one point, Achilles is his whole world. And I think he probably still... I don't think he actually does feel that way at the end because at the end, he's like, no, fuck you. You made these terrible decisions.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm mad at you. And so I think part of it just kind of serves to show his independence and, like, gaining his own personality outside of Achilles. Not to diminish that love, but there's more to him than that.
Yeah, because it's not good for you for your whole life to be another person.
No.
And, like, Achilles has his thing. Patroclus never had his own.
So when you two move in together, you got to remember...
Separate.
You have to have lives outside of just each other.
Oh, I already do, and it's called My Own Bathroom with the Tub with Jets.
Luxury.
So I feel like we've kind of wrapped up what we wanted to say about the characters and the plot. Let's talk a little bit about the writing. I feel like we need to make a point of that, especially because we started by saying there was an improvement from this book to Circe.
Definitely.
I do not think this book was bad. I do think Madeline Miller... I get the sense almost when I'm reading that she's writing to, like, the hilt of her ability, if that makes sense.
You can tell she's trying.
Yeah, like, it's not it's not the most complex writing in the world. There are moments where it's really simplistic. Like, I think the way that you can tell, even in the way that Patroclus addresses the audience, almost, quote unquote, by saying, like, oh, in our culture we do this, and the Greeks do this. Like, he talks like that a couple of times, and it's because he quote unquote implicitly knows that he's telling his story to people who aren't familiar with the Greeks, with the ancient Greeks, in the way that Madeline Miller with her 2 degrees is. I think the writing is very simplistic and simple, and I think that works for her, but I also think, having read this and having read Circe, both of them in first person, I think if you told Madeline Miller to write a book in third person, I'm not sure she could do it.
I wasn't sure about that when I first read your comment on that in our notes document. I think I agree with you. It's a lot of times with writers, they're very good at first person or very good at third person and not really much overlap.
I think that she is a good and strong writer, and I think that you're right in that she is someone with a subject matter expertise who is a good writer for the average person, because that is very easy to not be good at those things. But I don't think that she is, like, an incredibly strong and naturally gifted, talented writer. Like, she's no Isabel Allende or, you know, Anthony Doerr or, like, any of these other authors that we've read before.
I think her strongest suit, and this is something that I really appreciate because it's something that I often call books out when I don't like it, I thought the pacing was excellent.
That's true.
I thought we spent enough time in childhood, enough time when they're training, enough time in war. Like, I didn't think any of it moved too quickly or too slowly.
Yeah, I would agree.
There were moments in reading the book where I felt fully transported by the prose. Equally so, there were some moments where I was like, I had to read the sentence over again because I was like, this doesn't flow super well for me. But those moments, I wish I'd written one down because there were some where I was just like, I had to, like, take a second to be like, wow, I really loved the wording of that because it really took me to the scene.
Well, honestly, I'm not going to read it out loud because I know we promised spoilers, but I think that's a bit beyond the pale. But the very last line of the book, I was like, wow, that's the best line in the whole book. Like, that's something where, like, I want you to read it and have the experience of feeling that emotion when you read that last line. But that's an example of it being really beautiful.
Yeah.
I agree. I also think, having read these 2 books now, Madeline Miller, it's a very specific thing. Like, a lot of people now do these mythical retellings. It's very popular. These are not retellings. These are just tellings.
Yeah.
Like, she's not transforming any of this. She is just telling it to you.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of what supports that is the story of the Iliad does not start until chapter 25.
Wait.
Which is insane.
Wait.
Chapter 25 of this book is where the Iliad actually starts.
I thought you meant the story of the Iliad starts in chapter 25 of the Iliad, and I was like, first of all, didn't know the Iliad had chapters. Second of all, what were they talking about before that then?
I could have phrased that better. But in chapter 25 of Song of Achilles is where the Iliad actually starts off.
And which is the Trojan War beginning?
No, the Trojan War has already started.
Paris. Oh.
When the Iliad begins, I did wonder, I had that question in reading this, so I looked up where does the Iliad begin? Like, what event starts the Iliad? And it is actually when Agamemnon steals the priest's daughter.
Oh, that's late in the game.
That's when it starts.
That makes sense, though, for that being the...
That's the beginning of the Iliad, which is chapter 25 of this book.
On the subject of things retelling / not actually retellings, can I brief sidebar?
Yeah.
There's this book I read, and I don't know if any of you have read it. I don't even think I finished the first one, and it's the series. I read it probably in middle school, the height of like paranormal romance, when like retellings were just starting to come into a thing.
I'm so excited for this.
The Goddess Test by Amy Carter.
Okay, I have seen the cover of that book. I have not read that book.
Never heard of
Well,
this.
anyways, she meets this guy. She's like this teenage girl. She meets this guy. It says dark, tortured, and mesmerizing, who is Hades. And he's having a test to see who the new goddess will be, Persephone. You know what the test is based on? The 7 deadly sins of Christianity.
Oh my god.
I love the image, actually, of Hades, like, chilling in the underworld, and the Christians invent that, and he's like, that's really good. I'm gonna use that.
It's like all the other gods were the judges. And I'm like, you think Zeus was going to be sitting around doing this? Maybe I should go back and read it, because it was awful. Like, I DNF'd this in 6th grade before I
When
knew
our
what
taste was
DNFing
not good, yeah.
This would have been something I ate up, but the 7 deadly sins ruined it for me.
Yeah.
So that's a retelling. That's a reimagining.
Yeah. And she's just given, like, this is just like she's given it to you straight. And I think that's because she knows so much and has so much respect for the source material. She's like, I don't want to make anything up, and I also don't want to, like, she thinks that the material is interesting and important enough to stand on its own, which I really respect.
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel when you already have a really good story that can be told to a modern audience?
Well, exactly.
And an element of a story that is not commonly told.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of retellings.
Me neither,
generally, because it can be, especially if you're retelling something that's already really good, you're kind of saying, well, I can do it better to an extent.
To really step up to the plate.
Yeah, and so I like what she's doing here, because she's doing just something to the side of the Iliad. She's saying, here's a side character who is like not important to the story, but I mean, it's Patroclus. You know, he's not someone that you're going to really be remembering from the Iliad. And she's telling the story of his life, and a majority of the book is not, overlapping with the Iliad. And I think the same thing happens in Circe. Like, you get to meet a little bit of Circe in the Odyssey.
Yeah.
You're not
there for her life.
Yeah. I like how everyone else is like the side character.
Yeah. I loved Odysseus in this book. How he was like the side character, and obviously he's the like reasonable, smart one. But like he's only around, for some of it, because it's not his story. He's this great figure that's like adjacent to this story.
Yeah. And that's how I think how he is in the Iliad. Like, he's the main character of the Odyssey, but he's very much a side character in the Iliad.
I've only read the Odyssey, not the Iliad, so.
I've never read the Iliad. I just know I've seen the movie with Brad Pitt, which we should definitely watch it. It's only 3 hours. Yeah, Troy. That's about the Iliad.
Season 2 bonus episode.
We're gonna have so much stuff to watch.
We have a lot of content to watch for season 2.
Sean Bean is Odysseus.
Who?
Okay.
Sean Bean. He was in Game of Thrones.
Mr. dies all the time.
Oh, he dies. Pedro Pascal. Let's just say that.
I guess you could say that, yeah.
He has a record for on-screen deaths.
Jesus.
Sad man. Sad life.
Okay, let's get a bit into the history.
Yes. So, again, the approach that I had to this was not really about, like, what happens in the Iliad, partially because I think a lot of what happens in the Iliad we don't have proof of being true, but also I think we, for the most part, know the broad strokes of the Trojan War. So I'm going to talk about what parts of the Iliad are true / we think could be true. What's the evidence for that? Where did we get that evidence from? So basically, for a long time in like our modern era, like in the 16, 17, 1800s, we did not have like a firm belief that Troy was a real place. We were just like, this is like a made up something, basically. Like, we're not even really convinced that Homer was a real person. And And I don't think we are currently either, because, like, well, you know, it's hard to prove.
Yeah.
But they were like, all of this is not real. Maybe there were some other, like, vaguely related wars. Troy was not a real place. Mm-hmm. And then in 1871, an archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann found evidence of the city of Troy in a place called Hisarlik in Turkey.
Imagine how fucking cool he was to all his coworkers.
Yes. I'm very sorry if I'm not saying that right, to the people of Turkey. And also, I think that our friend Taya Cooper would love Heinrich Schliemann. So Taya, if you're listening...
Taya Cooper, please, we have your next book subject.
Yes, there's your material for your next book. And he basically just, like, dug through, like, all these layers of, like, other cities and found Troy. So they're like, oh, it was a real place. You know, so now we're kind of thinking, like, the Trojan War theoretically was a 10-year war. Okay. And right now, I think historians and scholars and whatnot think that's probably not realistic, especially because it's not a big place. Yeah. Like, you don't need to spend 10 years there. Like, someone's going to give before that. Mm-hmm. So they're like, either it's one long war that's not quite 10 years, or there were multiple wars and Homer just kind of went and smushed them together, like, to kind of poetically represent these 10-year wars. However, there also is a little bit of question mark around Schliemann. Like, if anyone listened to the podcast You're Wrong About, I feel like this is kind of a You're Wrong About moment, where people, at first he was, like, hailed as, like, the hero of, like, finding Troy or whatever, but now it's people don't love his work that much. Okay. Because he was so dedicated to the idea of finding Troy that he just, like, dug through a bunch of all of this other stuff and, like, completely destroyed it. Yeah. So it's, like, other centuries of, like, cities that were built on top of Troy. Yeah, so it could have been other, yeah. And then there was a part where he had to leave and wanted to come back and resume his work in Troy and was not allowed to by the Ottomans because he illegally smuggled gold out of the country. Holy shit. Yes. So they were like, you took our artifacts, give them back, please. And I don't know how that got settled, but he did eventually get in there. It's kind of the case of Rosalind Franklin, like the lady who discovered the DNA, and then the two men took credit for it. There was another archaeologist named Frank Calvert who was not as famous, and I think too nice, who was basically like, oh my gosh, my good buddy Heinrich, look at all this work that I did. I think that this place, if I go and dig there, it's going to be Troy. And then Heinrich was like, thank you, I'll be taking that. And then he went and took all the credit, yeah. So Troy is a real place, so we think there was a war there. To the existence of the specific characters in the Iliad, I don't think we can really say a whole lot. Obviously, they exist as, like, figures in ancient Greek canon, so there is some debate. This is not really, like, I just threw this in here because I think it was funny. This is not really, like, a historiography thing, but back in the day, the famous playwright Aeschylus wrote a play, which has not survived. We don't have copies of it, which did portray Achilles and Patroclus as, like, having a sexual relationship. Like, not as being, like, lovers in the way that we would think about it, but, like, they were boning. And there was this other guy named Phaedrus who didn't like it because he didn't like which one of them was the top and which one of them was the bottom.
Do we know which one was the top?
No.
Damn it, the things we lose to history.
Yes.
So, okay, which do you think is the top, based on the book?
Well, I feel like he probably would think that it should be Achilles, so I guess it wasn't.
No, based on Song of Achilles, because it's never explicitly said.
No, it's pretty vague. I feel like they take turns.
You think they're switches?
I feel like they take turns.
I feel like Achilles wouldn't want anyone to know he bottoms, but he bottoms.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it. Because there's a line in the book where Patroclus is talking about how, like, men, like, Greeks' opinion on gay men, basically. And he's talking about how men won't respect you if they think you're getting fucked by another man. He phrases it differently.
Not the bottom-hating society.
Well, yeah, it was like if you are getting conquered in bed, basically, they won't respect you.
You're gonna get conquered in life.
Exactly. It was kind of like that.
Well, it was very much implied, like, it's okay to, like, fool around when you're, like, a teenager growing up, but, like, when you're a grown man, like, you need to, like, have a wife and, like, slave women and whatever.
Yeah. Well, they also talk about, like, the whole thing, like, men fucking kids, like,
yeah, that's bad, but it's allowed.
Yeah, but like that was acceptable back then.
Yeah. Well, I'll just throw this in that was also slightly unrelated, but I did it and I had to, pinch my lips to not bring it up earlier, but I read a little article that was called Brokeback Mount Olympus, which I thought was fun.
What a great title.
Yes, and it was this guy, and I can't tell if this man is Greek or French. If he's Greek, Gregory Justanus. If he's French, Gregory Jourdain. But he was talking about like what levels of this were true and like what like acceptable gay culture was back then. But he was saying, you know, we just don't think about sexuality in the way that the ancient Greeks did. Like there were not labels of like people are attracted to men, attracted to women, or like bisexual, or like that just wasn't like you just like you fucked, etc. And so he says that Madeline Miller is combining her knowledge of classics with representations of what we would view as contemporary sexuality to get her point across. And we've said repeatedly on this podcast that's what we think historical fiction is good for.
Yeah.
As like not being literal, but helping us see a narrative.
Understand and contextualize. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree with what that author's saying. However, I feel like that author's probably framing it negatively, and I would not frame it negatively.
There is some framing negatively in the article that's like, I think he's part of it is like he says like, oh, this is a bit simplistic in terms of the knowledge and the writing style. But he does say like, I think this is a gay man, and he's like, I enjoy that people are reading this book. Yeah, okay. So there's good and bad, which I think is fine because it's, you know, someone with a PhD level knowledge about this. This book wasn't written for them. It was written for normies.
It's if you're a PhD level knowledge of this and you're writing a book for Booktok.
Yeah. Or Tumblr. Because this book came out pre-Booktok, but it's, you know, a darling of it, of course.
Of course. This is one of, like, the old school Booktok books.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to have a bit of an inception moment where we all are going to use Ashley's star calculator. So, Ashley, you get to use it yourself.
I know. I already inputted most of mine in there.
Where did you input it?
You missed historical accuracy. Time to update.
If you would let me finish my sentences.
I don't see where Ashley's stuff is.
I wanted to wait to put historical accuracy.
Okay, so as you know, our fabulous data scientist Ashley, who is here with us in the flesh in the DC Library recording studio, has created our star calculator based on... Ashley, why don't you tell us what the categories are based on? You give us the rundown.
Oh, Grace, can I see your screen? All right, it's historical accuracy, vibes, prose, originality, characters.
All right, and Ashley, you kick us off today.
Okay, so I gave it historical accuracy 3.75.
Which I think you shouldn't be allowed to do, but Ashley's doing it anyway.
There was a brief argument in the studio about decimal points. I also have decimal points, and no, I have done so in the past, so...
Well, I'm against it.
Grace, I made it so you could do decimal points for you because you've complained about how you can't do a half star in some ratings. So now you can do a 0.01 star if you want.
Listen, we're not getting into this now in front of all of the listeners. Please continue.
Not in front of the fans.
AKA our mothers and you.
So historical accuracy, I did 3.75 just because we don't know if this is historically accurate in the traditional sense, but it seems to follow the Iliad in ways that are important. And like, we don't know if the Iliad actually happened. So it's okay. It loses points because we can't confirm. Yeah. Vibes, 4. Love this book, would read it again. This was my second time reading it. Prose, I gave it a 5. Okay. I really liked it. Those moments happened a lot for me where I was transported into the text. Originality, I gave it a 4 because we do have a lot of these like Greek retelling stories. I think Madeline Miller was probably the first to start doing them. I don't know that for sure.
I think Goddess Test came out first.
I think they come in waves. Yeah. I feel like we're in a wave of them now, and I think she kicked off the wave.
Yeah, that's how I feel. And it's really servicing the Percy Jackson kids.
Oh my God, for real.
And then characters, 3.5, because we didn't really get into this. I didn't like a lot of the characters. I didn't like how they were portrayed. I felt like for a lot of the book, I was only getting Patroclus, and everyone else felt very flat to me. It wasn't until the end where I was like, oh, I actually like this character. Yeah. I just felt like her character development of a lot of the characters was not done super, super strongly.
I might agree with you about that.
So, what is your final score?
4.05.
All right.
I would ask what you give it on Storygraph, but you don't do that.
I don't do that.
Ashley doesn't participate in review culture. Historical accuracy, I'm going 4 because I know that we can't verify a lot of the stuff in the book. However, I think we can't I don't want to ping her for that because we picked the book. Like, we're choosing to put it on the podcast. So,
yeah,
you know, I think she held herself to the standard of the Iliad, and that's what I feel comfortable judging her against.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a 4. Vibes 4. That's kind of how I felt about this book. It was pretty, like, steady and good. Not, like, incredible, but, like, good and, you know, all that. Prose 4. Not amazing. Amazing at times. I think a little less for me than for Ashley, but certainly serviceable. Originality 3. Kind of same, like, this is just, it's a Greek retelling. I think that we hear a lot of these stories. Characters 3. Same. I think that they were not the strongest part of this book. So for me, that's a 3.6. I gave this a 4 on Storygraphs. That's a little bit low. But for me, this book is very 4. Like, if you read a lot of books, I find on my Storygraph chart that most of the books I rate are 4s, which is what, for me, it's like, this is a solid, good book.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think that this is.
I enjoyed reading it. It's funny because we all have very similar numbers, but just all placed in different categories. Historical accuracy, much like Grace said, also a 4. I mean, I'm also very lenient on historical accuracy. It's kind of like a lot of the stuff in here is taken as fact as far as Greek mythology and canon go, and she didn't really mess with that, so I'm fine with it. Vibes 4, enjoyed it. Good vibes, like the cover a lot. Prose 3.5, so I went the lowest of anyone here. I think for me there was those moments I was really sucked in and transported, but 2 things really pulled me out. Some of the sentences being so clunky I had to read over them, and I do think that, not penalizing her for this, but the fact that the Greek names, like, from that time period were also just very long.
I hit the name Patroclus. I know
I had to read over those a lot of times too. And then also the fact that Patroclus was making it so clear, like, in my culture, this. Because we've read a lot of books on here in cultures we're not familiar with, and we got by without that. Originality, I gave it a 5. I liked having it be about, like, from a myth a lot of people know and just focusing on these 2 more minor characters. I like that. Characters, 3.75. I wasn't the biggest fan of all of them, but I think the 2 main characters who was about were very fleshed out and they did a good job, so it kind of, you know, balances out for me. And just like Ashley, 4.05. And on Storygraph, I gave this a 4, so that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, so I think based on our ratings, we would agree that this gets a fine.
A fine?
A high fine.
Fine, leaning 5.
Like I said, I want to do some more fleshing out of our fine rating because I think it encompasses too wide of a gamut. But this isn't quite a 5, but it's a good book.
I like the 2 categories of fine leaning 5 or leaning flop.
Yeah, 5, leaning 5 this week. If someone you know is, like, just getting into reading, or they're maybe starting to grow out of YA and want to start reading adult books, I think this is a great book to hand them.
Or moving into new genres.
Yes.
That would also... This is a good, like... I think this would be a good transition book from romance to, like, more historical focus.
Yes. I think this is a book of really wide appeal, and I think that's part of why it did so well.
I'm sure this is eventually going to be something with a movie or with an adaptation. I would be surprised if it doesn't get one. So hopefully it does, and we can watch it for the pod.
I know. I'm kind of surprised that the rights to Circe went first, to be frank.
Yeah, I am as well.
So, Erin, what are we reading next week?
Next week, we are back with Pachinko by Min Jin Lee, which was a bestseller a few years ago, correct?
Yes, it was. I think it actually came out the same year that Song of Achilles came out.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, we are reading that one, which I'm very excited to talk about. But in the meantime, make sure you're following us on social, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @5orflop_pod. And make sure to join our reading challenge on Storygraph so you can read along with us.
Yes, if you have any suggestions for books that we should read, we have a recommendation form in the bio of all of our socials. And if you have any other general queries, you can email us at fiverfloppodcast@gmail.com. And data scientist Ashley, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to sign us off?
Oh gosh, I know it ends with happy reading. What does it start with?
It just ends with, that's all of it.
Happy reading!
Happy reading!
Happy reading!